and welcome to the Think Fertility Podcast. My name is Abby Twomlow, psychologist, anxiety specialist and fertility hypnotherapist. So welcome to our September edition. This is episode 2. If you haven't joined us before, welcome. During September we've been talking about self-esteem in our fertility journey. So today I want to have a look at rebuilding your identity beyond your fertility journey. Because it's something that's really important, who you are outside of that fertility journey. And if you feel like you're starting to lose your way, or if you feel like you've lost your sense of identity completely outside of trying to conceive, how to start rebuilding that and getting that feeling back, because your life is bigger than your fertility. So I've had many clients who feel like their whole world revolves around treatment cycles, and their whole life is impacted by them. So, they're constantly trying to lose weight. They're trying to make lifestyle changes. They're being careful about what shampoos they use, what soap they use. They've had acupuncture. They've had reflexology. You're constantly waiting for test results. You're desperately trying not to check for ovulation. You're constantly waiting for that next thing. You're tracking, you're monitoring, you're on edge all of the time. And when your fertility takes centre stage like that, it's really easy to forget that you're more than just this part of your life. When you get to the end of your life, whatever happens now is going to be such a small percentage, because you are more than your fertility. And it's essential for your emotional resilience, your well-being, your mental health, your confidence, to recognise that and to make sure that you do something about that. So let's have a look first of all at how fertility struggles impact your identity. So the first thing is it kind of puts your life on hold. People change their careers, or you sort of put a hold on moving forward in your career. You start being careful about travel. You put travel on hold, and that might be financial. It might be due to timing. Your hobbies can take a back seat. Again, whether that's time or money, or whether you just don't feel like it because you're quite bloated, or there's many reasons why that can take a back seat. And actually, often relationships even get pushed to one side, whether that's your relationship with your partner, your family, your friends. You start not wanting to go out with your friends anymore because you don't want to drink, you don't want to have questions asked. You can start to feel resentment towards your partner. You can start getting quite insular so that you don't have to share these things. And fertility then becomes your main, or sometimes even your only focus. It's all you are thinking about. The second thing that it can impact is your feeling of self-worth, and that's tied to your fertility. So many people that I work with kind of feel like, well, if I can't have a baby, then who am I? Who am I as a person? What's my life about? And your identity as a human becomes entangled with being able to or not being able to be a parent. And you sort of can't see who you are as an individual outside of that journey. And then there's also potentially a sense of smallness as well. So your social circle, like I said earlier, starts to shrink. Conversations feel quite limited, either to fertility or if other people are talking about family or their children or other things like that. You can feel sort of quite isolated from that. And it makes you feel really awkward and like you don't want to get involved, and actually that it feels safer and more protective to isolate yourself and avoid those situations. You can feel quite disconnected from the wider world, like it's only happening to you and that nobody really understands. And I do think partly that is true. I don't think you can fully understand unless you've been through the process. But again, your life and your world is bigger than just this process. So it's about how to put that to one side and still enjoy yourself and live the rest of your life. So how do you do that? How do you rebuild your identity beyond your fertility journey? So I suppose one thing I always sort of recommend to people is that you reconnect with your own core values. What do you stand for as a person? What makes you tick? What lights you up? What makes you feel good? Is it being kind? Is it developing? Is it growth? Is it being creative? Is it being adventurous? Is it, there's so many things that make us feel good as a person that are not to do with this journey. It might be being with your friends, going with your family, meeting up with people, picking up the phone, having a chat, trying something new, going somewhere different. There's many, many things that lights you up as a person. And you need to rediscover that joy. So when you know what those things are, when you start to recognise your core values and what impacts you and what makes you feel good, then sort of intentionally plan those things, even if they're just small things that have brought you happiness at some point. Go for a walk at the weekend, go and get a new book, play some music, sing some music, do some painting, get some decorating done, bake a cake, whatever it is. They don't have to be massive things, but make sure that you're connecting with those things that make you feel good, and regularly as well. The next thing I always suggest is to sort of expand your role. You're not just a patient, you're not only a fertility patient. That is not your role in this world and in your life. You might be a friend, a partner, a sibling, a professional, a creator, an adventurer, all of those things, most probably more than one of those things, but kind of expand that role a little bit. Make sure that you are, again, actively making time to be those people. Meeting up with a friend doesn't have to be about you and your fertility journey. What are they doing? Make sure that you're still interested in them, and whatever's happening in their life with their pregnancies or their children, it's not personal. It's not an attack on your lack of those things. And avoid those topics of conversation. You don't need to be upset by them if you don't want to be. You're only upset because you interpret it as a personal thing and you compare yourself to somebody else's journey. So talk about other things, talk about work, talk about when you were little together, talk about holidays that they've been on or going on, talk about other things. If they're talking about things that you don't want to talk about, change the conversation. It doesn't have to just be about your fertility journey. Go on a date night with your partner, meet up with your siblings, plan something new in your professional role, or take on a challenge. Don't shy away from those things. Nurture your strengths as well. So reflect on how resilient you have been to go through this journey. You are already stronger than you probably realise. So make sure that you reflect on that. What have you done really well? What have you coped with that at the start of this journey you just didn't think you'd be able to face? Acknowledge your patience with the process. Have there been times where you've waited, or you've been kind with yourself, or you've taken a step back when you've needed to? Show yourself a bit of compassion, because if you can sharpen those qualities throughout this journey, that can help your identity in the long run, regardless of the outcome. If you know that you're resilient, if you know that you can cope, if you know that you've got patience and compassion, all of those things, they will make you a better person in the long run, and they're positive parts of you, whatever happens. And make sure that you're creating space outside of this journey. Set yourself some really clear boundaries. So plan in some designated time for conversations and activities that are not related to your treatment. Go out with a friend. If it's a friend that knows about your treatment, be explicit. Let's meet for a coffee, let's go for a chat, but I do not want to talk about this. I just don't want it to come up. I want to think about something else. So set those boundaries, create that space to have that time outside of your fertility journey. It will make you feel so much better, and that social connection and social interaction with others is really good for your mental health, but you get a say to how that goes as well. So one thing that I like to do every time is to just give you a thought. So put your hand on your chest. If you've been with me before, you'll know how to do this. We're going to do that lovely square breathing where we take a breath in for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Slowly out. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I want you to ask yourself today, who am I beyond my fertility journey? Who are you? And if you've got a pen and paper to hand, I'd like you to try and write down 3 roles or qualities or passions that define you right now outside of this journey. It might be wife, it might be daughter, it might be friend, it might be music, it might be dance, it might be explorer, I don't know. Write down 3 roles or 3 qualities or passions, interests that define you right now. I'll give you a minute to do that. Okay. So, I like to keep these short and sweet and just give you little tips and tricks along the way. We'll be back next week. But this week we have been looking at why your fertility does not define your identity. It's not who you are. Who you are is a multi-layered, holistic and whole thing. And you are wholesome and good without all this, this fertility journey. You do not need to be a parent right now in your journey to just be you, or at any point in your life. You are still you, and you need to find you. You're a valuable and worthy human being just as you are, with or without treatment or without those outcomes. So keep exploring your identity. Be kind to yourself. Be curious about what makes you happen. Be aware of what makes you happen, because quite often we can lose awareness of that altogether. If you don't already follow Think Fertility, please do head over to Think Fertility on Facebook and on Instagram. There's always tools and blogs and reflections and support and things on there. So if you don't already, excuse me, please follow along. If you haven't come across fertility hypnosis before and you'd like to find out more about it, please get in touch. I'd love to chat to you more about how it can help and give you a bit of a deeper insight and show you how fertility hypnosis can work on reconnecting you with your self-worth and identity, as well as helping get your brain and body in the best place for pregnancy and a successful outcome. So please get in touch. You can go to www.thinkfertility.co.uk and there's links and support on there as well. But thank you for joining me this week. I'm really glad you have. Reach out if you've got any questions or if you need any support, and hopefully see you next week. Take care. Bye.